so let's dive into the agenda for this evening. First off, we will start with who we are here at ITA, then why you should teach English online, the basic requirements to teach English online, what the type of teaching jobs are for teaching English online, what the differences are between teaching English online and in person, so sort of how that digital classroom functions, type of TEFL class options and how the job search guidance works here at ITA. And then finally, we will wrap up with that live Q&A for you folks.
That's right. And just to introduce us, International TEFL Academy as an organization, we are a worldwide leader in TEFL certification for teaching English abroad and teaching English online. We certify about 6,000 students a year, and our graduates are teaching in 80 countries worldwide, and many of them are teaching English online, either full-time or part-time. We've won a number of awards over the last couple of years. We're super proud of that. And we invite you to take a look at our reviews on various external websites like goabroad.com, gooverseas.com, Google, Facebook, etc. And you'll really get, not only an idea about what people, what sort of experiences they've had with us, but also with their experiences in general teaching English abroad and teaching English online.
Awesome. So let's meet the team. This is a photo of our team that was taken at our film festival back in April. Something that really makes working here pretty unique is that we have all been in your shoes. We've all lived, worked, and traveled extensively overseas. We share your passion for experiencing the world, and we're here to work with you, to help create your dreams and to make your plans come true. So like John said, make sure that you reach out to your advisor at the end of this, so we're able to start working with you to really make this a reality.
Yeah, and before we really dive in here, we're gonna ask you a quick question. Ashley's gonna pop up the poll. So answer in the poll, not in the chat panel. Do you know anybody who has taught English online? Robert, before you got into teaching English online, did you know anybody who had taught English online who, sort of gave you the inside scoop, or did you just sort of happen upon it by chance? Or I mean, it's been growing super fast, so I imagine, I don't know, what was your experience?
Yeah, I really wanted to keep teaching, but I wasn't quite sure how I could do that from Chicago, where I was still able to work with international students like I was when I was overseas. So I started researching, and I found teaching English online through a little Google, sleuth maneuvering. But it has definitely exploded since when I first started doing it, to the point where it's kind of changed the game in terms of teaching overseas and traveling around the world.
Awesome, Ashley. What sort of results do we have here?
All right, so about 77% do not know somebody who has taught abroad. So glad you're here to learn more about it. And for those 23% who have, or I see a few people in the chat are already teaching online, which is great. You might be experts. Definitely share with others, because you'll be able to describe the experience firsthand.
Yeah, that's right. And if you don't know anybody who's taught English online, or you know nothing about it, obviously you're in the right place with this webcast, but check out all the resources on our website. We have literally dozens of articles, videos, alumni experiences, and more. So really interesting results there.
Cool. So let's learn a little bit about how this actually works. Now, with 1.5 billion people learning English worldwide, the demand for online education has exploded. I mean, a flexible lifestyle, the ability to be your own boss while teaching English and traveling, what's not to love, right? It's not hard to understand why it's so popular. So how exactly does it work when teaching English online? I mean, put simply, teaching English online is teaching English as a foreign language to non-native English speakers over the internet through the use of a computer or a webcam. This might be teaching one-on-one, or it could be teaching a small group of students. Both the students and the teachers are usually able to set their own times and schedules, and the teacher can teach from whatever location is convenient to them, as long as they have that strong internet connection. So this is a big aspect of teaching English online, is it gives you flexibility, not only in the time when you want to work, but also where you want to work.
That's right. And let's go a little bit more into some of the benefits and why you should consider teaching English online. So combining the fact that there are more than 1.5 billion people learning English worldwide with massive increased access to the internet, online and English instruction is one of the fastest growing sectors of international education. The bottom line, there are tons of job opportunities. Demand is sky high, especially with so many people in Asian countries like China looking to learn English online. It's just really exploding. So this is a rapid growth industry. It has tons of opportunity, and it really provides a lot of opportunities, both full-time and part-time, for especially TEFL certified teachers to teach basically anywhere and anytime they like.
Teaching English online is going to give you teaching experience before going abroad, and this is huge. So if you're taking ITA's 11-week online TEFL course, you can not only complete your practicum by teaching online, but you can gain experience and earn money before heading overseas. And this is, really nice because you can sort of help yourself decide who you want to teach, right? You can try starting off working with children based in China, and then a little later in the afternoon, you end up teaching business professionals in Brazil, in Russia, and Dubai. So it's a great way to sort of decide, who you want to work with, decide how you are most effective as a teacher, and that way when you head overseas, you're going to have a much better experience. It's just a way to get, more confident and more comfortable before you actually head overseas, and it's a great resume booster too.
Yeah, and if you have startup costs and you need to earn money to pay for those startup costs, teaching English online is really the way to do it. Flexibility is huge. You can teach English online from basically anywhere in the world. You can work as many hours as you like. You can work for a big company like VIP Kid that sets up a lot of stuff for you in terms of students and curriculum, or you can work as a private tutor. We have a lot of ITA graduates. Perhaps they're teaching full-time or part-time at a language school in Costa Rica or Thailand or Vietnam, and then they're also teaching English online. We have other graduates who are teaching full-time online, either in their home country or abroad. We literally have students in places like Europe and Southeast Asia and Latin America who are house-sitting their way through Europe and earning money teaching English online as they do it. So yeah, it just offers that much more flexibility in terms of location, even more flexibility than just teaching abroad at local schools. And then, as we've discussed, the hours as well.
All right, so let's start looking at some basic requirements to teach English online. Can anyone teach English online? We're going to walk you through it, and let's see if you meet these requirements.
So yeah, does having a degree, preferred? Yeah, in most educational realms, this is true. Whether you're teaching abroad, teaching English online, or what have you, there are going to be some companies out there that are going to require it. Others may not. And we have some great articles about teaching English online without a degree, including one that lists a bunch of companies that will hire you without a degree. And if you do have a degree, it doesn't have to be in education per se. Really getting a TEFL certification, and we'll go into that in the next slide, is really the key when it comes to training for teaching English online.
All right. So starting in September, all Teaching English Online companies based in China, and this is some of the heavy hitters like VIP Kid and Data ABC, they are requiring at least a 120-hour TEFL certification or a state teaching license. So if you want to be successful in English when you're teaching abroad or online, you want or you really need to have professional training and the skills to be able to run that classroom. So a TEFL certification is preferred and it is oftentimes required. And something else to kind of keep in mind here, these schools are competing with each other for students, and they are eager to hire qualified teachers with strong credentials. And even within companies, you are sort of competing for students with other teachers. So getting TEFL certified is key if you want to get hired by those top companies and you want to start attracting some of those students.
Yeah, I mean, I think Robert speaks to that from personal experience. Device requirements. So, what do you need in terms of technology to teach English online? So, some of this may seem obvious, but it's definitely worth pointing out. You want to have a solid computer. Some companies have apps that maybe technically you could use a tablet, but really you just want to have a quality, reliable computer camera. So, obviously your students need to be able to see you. You need to be engaging, provide, a good engaging experience online with your students. So you need, a good computer with a good camera on it for that. A headset with a microphone. So, these students, they're learning how to pronounce English words. They're learning how to hold a conversation in English. Obviously, they're not native English speakers. So you need a good audio and a good headset so that you're able to communicate clearly with your students. And then you want to have a professional backdrop and good lighting. You don't want to look like you're just hanging out in your bedroom with the laundry, thrown around or, anything like that. You want to look like a professional teacher who is going to, really convey a proper, inspiring educational environment for your students.
Yeah, that's
so
a really big one, John. That's a really big one. Making
yeah,
sure that you are well lit and that students are actually able to see you, that your face isn't covered in the shadow, you're not, backlit behind you. Yeah, it's vital for your students to kind of feel the atmosphere of the classroom, and you got to be able to provide that for them. All right, so I mean, needless to say, a strong, reliable internet connection is key for teaching English online. Most online employers require a wired connection instead of Wi-Fi, and a majority of them will have minimum requirements for upload and download speeds that you will need to adhere to.
That's right. All right, let's look at different types of jobs for teaching English online. Man, there are all kinds of lots of variety when it comes to this. So yeah, you can teach English online with a company. There are big companies out there that literally handle tens of thousands of students, and with they hire thousands of teachers. Many of them, they're it's not something where each teacher is off doing their own thing or freewheeling their way through all of the lessons. They have set standards, they have set curriculum. In the very case, they're going to have stricter requirements about some of the things that we just talked about. Most use what we call learning management systems. These are basically online platforms. If you've taken online classes before or taught an online class in any field, you'll know what we're talking about. Or platforms like Moodle or Blackboard Enterprise. Salaries are set often by a scale, and so this, where you sit on that scale in terms of your pay is going to vary depending on your experience, your credentials. It may depend on whether you're a native English speaker or not, whether you have a degree or not, whether you have a TEFL certification or not. And then reviews are huge. So these schools, they want happy students. Happy students means more business for them. So reviews are key. Teaching English online with the company, even though there are more set standards and so forth, you still have a large amount of flexibility in terms of how often you teach during the week, how many hours you teach, how many lessons, and also when you teach those lessons as well.
All right, so let's take a look at teaching English online as a private tutor, more one-on-one and private tutoring style. So with a lot of these, you're going to use job boards, websites, platforms, where you're going to market yourself to students as a personal tutor. With this, that means you're going to have more flexibility in what materials and curriculums you're actually teaching, because you're most likely going to be developing this for your students on a more individual basis. So, a bit more time commitment on your end, but more control ultimately as to what you're teaching. And as it says here, you get to be your own boss. You get to spend your energy preparing those lessons and recruiting your students. But that often means that with a lot of these platforms, maybe you're setting your own rate, right? You're charging a little bit more than you could earn working with some of those companies. And as John mentioned, there are a lot of online teaching companies out there. There are over 100 at this point. So this is just a general breakdown between the two, and even sort of within this sort of divide, there can be some pretty big differences. So that's why we have a specialty course, which you're going to hit on a little bit later, that kind of helps you navigate this market and decide which path may be the best for you when you start teaching online.
All right. Yeah, it's like we said, it's exploding. There's just all kinds of all sorts of options. Let's talk about some of the differences between teaching English online versus teaching English in person. So obviously there are going to be a lot of similarities, but a lot of differences as well. So working within the parameters of the camera. So this is obviously one of the biggest differences, working in a live classroom environment compared to working within the parameters, and certainly one of the challenges and skills that you're going to want to develop as an online teacher is how to run lessons that keep your students engaged while you're in that you're within the confines of that virtual environment. Of course, this is even more challenging when you consider that your students, they're not fluent English speakers, and so forth. Using different props and other tools that will be effective on camera in terms of conveying what you're trying to teach. To some degree, you're more limited than in an in-person class. In other ways, you may find that it's actually advantageous to be teaching English online compared to teaching in person. Some people prefer having that screen in between them. Robert, I mean, as somebody who taught English both abroad, both in person in Spain and Korea, and then online, what sort of challenges or benefits did you find from teaching online compared to teaching in person?
Yeah, I mean, definitely working within the camera takes some adjustment. Figuring out where to even stand, how close you are to your computer, just so that everything stays in frame. The student is able to see what you are trying to show them. I used to always try to, incorporate as many things as I could into my classroom, even though I was sort of limited with that virtual space. So I used to love, for example, high-fiving my camera, moving my hand as close as I could to my camera, so it essentially like took up the whole screen, and then I would make a little sound effect for my students, whoosh, or something like that, and they would just absolutely eat that stuff up. Something else that I used to really lean on was an augmented reality app, which sounds very fancy and a little intimidating, but it's actually pretty easy to use. If you start Googling augmented reality, I'm sure you'll find a bunch of stuff. But essentially what I could do is, if I'm talking to a student and I'm talking about an apple, I could click a button and an apple would appear next to me in my camera, right? So that was just a way to really transform that digital classroom and to just make yourself a much more effective teacher. So, it does take some adjustment, but once you get the hang of it, it does have some advantages when you are working in this digital space.
Did you ever watch recordings of yourself and think, oh, wow, that's really cool, or wow, that's something that I didn't realize I looked, that may not have been working as well as I'd hoped?
Absolutely. That was a huge help for me when I first started off with VIP Kit, because those lessons are recorded. So when I started off, I went back and I started watching my lessons to figure out how I could use better props. When was my student rolling their eyes? When were they smiling? A great way to kind of see yourself, see what's effective, and then go back and make adjustments. So again, you start getting those high reviews, you start building up more regulars, and you are a big success in this eventually.
Awesome, fantastic insights.
All right, so let's keep moving on and talking about some classroom management. Now this is, can be a struggle, right? I mean, you are trying to keep a student focused throughout the class that might be thousands of miles away from you. So you have to be aware of distractions for your student. For example, they might have a parent walking around in the background. They might have a toy in their hand, right? Being aware of these situational things and figuring out ways where you are able to draw their attention back in, maybe by singing a song. Or what I used to love doing is, again, going to my augmented reality and clicking my dancing monkey button, which always brought my students back to me. And remember, if you're with a group, you have to think about how you can keep everyone engaged. Try and plan some activities or ways that they're able to hold each other accountable so that everyone is engaged and moving along with the lesson.
All right, dealing with technical issues. Now, this is something we all deal with in our daily lives, and in those of us who work and we use any sort of technology. Let's face it, shit happens. Internet breaks and audio goes down and so forth. So it's important to be prepared. One of the keys is to be patient, allow time for your students to speak without jumping in too soon, cutting them off. If there's some sort of delay, sometimes this can be a real challenge, especially when you're, looking to correct a student with, if there's some sort of delay. So again, this is something to be prepared for and to be mindful of, especially when you're starting out. Robert, I mean, you must have dealt with some of these issues in your time teaching English online.
Yeah, and it can be difficult judging when you want to jump in and help a student with pronunciation, things like that. Something that I found really effective was if there was an audio delay and a student was reading a paragraph, for example, what you can do is as they're reading, when you hear mistakes, underline the words as they're working through that paragraph. That way, at the end, you can go back and you can work on those words together without having to hop in. They hear you 5 seconds after they've already spoken, and it just causes more and more frustration. So again, you just have to be patient and find ways to make little adaptations like that to transform this headache into something that's manageable.
Okay, I got another question for you. It's not exactly technical issues, and I'm not sure if we cover this in the rest of the broadcast, so I'm going to answer it now. What happens if you have a scheduled lesson with a student and the student doesn't show, or something like that, or say their lesson, you're halfway through a lesson and their internet goes down or something like that? Do you still get paid the same?
Yeah,
I think how do you handle situations like that?
I think it's a company by company policy that you're going to have to adhere to. Some companies expect you to stay the full time. The students are paying for that even if they don't show up, so you should be there. Other companies let you leave halfway through the lesson, but maybe you get half pay. So it depends on which organization you are working with. With VIP Kid, we were expected to stay the whole time, but we were paid for that lesson. So maybe a little surfing on Google if you're waiting around for your student to show up.
Okay, good to know.
All right, so now let's talk Benjamins. How much money can I earn teaching English online? So typically you are going to be paid in 25, 30, or 45-minute chunks. So that's how long the lessons usually run. Most first-time online English teachers can expect to make 15 to 20 bucks an hour, again, depending on your credentials, your experience, etc. And most companies will use a pay scale that factors in experience and reviews. So again, that's why reviews are so important, because if you start off strong, you're getting those 5 Apple reviews from your students. Next time your contract comes around to be re-upped, you can then negotiate a higher base pay, for example. So definitely make sure that when you get started, you hit the ground running and you get those strong reviews so you can start earning more and more money.
So I gather, I mean, as a teacher who was successful and got a lot of good reviews, this meant that your pay went up when you were,
Yeah, absolutely. I earned
teaching career.
Yeah, I earned more money and then I got more opportunities. They brought me on to then help them with hiring and interviewing. I was lucky enough to, as you mentioned earlier, win a contest where I was flown out to Beijing and I met the CEO. So if you get good reviews, there are some pretty awesome incentives that can come your way. It's just a matter of, again, knowing how to be effective in that digital classroom. And from there, you can really start to do pretty well at teaching online.
All right, excellent insights. All right, so let's talk about TEFL class options and certification for teaching English online and teaching English abroad in general. I think as we've discussed, can you teach English online without a TEFL certification? Certainly it's possible. As I think, Robert and others can attest, it's an exploding field. There are tons of opportunities. It's also becoming increasingly competitive as people learn about these opportunities. Schools do want to hire the most qualified teachers possible. They want to hire teachers who have some, proper teaching, training in teaching English as a foreign language, and that means a TEFL certification. So especially if you're looking to teach English abroad and then also teach English online or do the two together, you definitely want to get TEFL certified. I mean, that's just the bottom line. And I think you'll find out that if you try teaching English online and you don't even have a basic grasp of teaching methodologies and practices, you're going to really find it to be tough sledding. We offer online classes and classes in 25 locations worldwide. Let's talk about some of those options now. All right, so online TEFL class. At ITA, this is the most popular class we offer. We train about 6,000 people a year. I'd say 5,000 of those people take the class online. It's the most cost-effective option. It's the most convenient option. You can do it while you're at home. You can do it from home. You can do it from anywhere. It's a part-time class. It's designed to accommodate people who are working or going to school full-time, so you can continue to generate income for yourself while you're getting certified. Or if you're a college student, let's say, you can get certified while you're wrapping up your degree and have opportunities teaching English online, teaching English abroad, waiting for you when you finish school. So, here's some basic info on this class. It's 11 weeks, part-time. There are a couple of specialty classes that we offer that you can take. They're optional. Course is 150 hours with 20 hours of practicum. So practicum is live practice teaching. So even though this is an online class, you do need to get some live teaching experience. This is something that we help you, figure out and set up in your community. Most people do it by volunteering. You can also do it by teaching English online. So, actually get some experience in this specific field while you're getting certified. All of our professors and instructors for these classes have at least a master's degree in education and teaching English as a foreign language. The class is internationally accredited. We limit class sizes to 20 students per class. You are getting a lot of interaction with your instructor as well as other students. There are all kinds of videos, live webinars, live office hours. So it is an interactive class, and it is structured in that you do have assignments due at particular days each week. However, there's no required live time, so you don't have to be online at a particular hour that may interfere with your work or school. Tuition for this class is $1,399. However, if you enroll by August 15th, you can save $100 on that class. And this class includes, like all of our classes, lifetime job search guidance to help you find opportunities, both teaching English online and teaching English abroad. We'll be diving into that more in just a bit.
All right, so now let's cover the in-person TEFL classes. Now these are the full-time options, right? You should expect this to be much more like a full-time job, Monday through Friday, 9 to 5, maybe a little homework at the end of the night. You're taking an 11-week long course and you're packing it into a month. So it is going to be a pretty intensive experience, but ultimately you get it done in that 4 weeks. So in terms of what the course load looks like, with these 25 course locations we have around the world, you should expect at least 100 hours of coursework and at least 6 hours of practice teaching that you'll be doing in these classes. And oftentimes with these in-person courses, what happens is they bring in students locally that you will practice with for those 6 hours of teaching. Just like the online course, you are going to have professional instructors. That means at least a master's in linguistics and TESOL and those related fields. And of course, they will be accredited by internationally recognized authorities. You're going to have a small class size, usually 12 or fewer students. That way, again, you are able to get that personal instruction from your professor. The tuition will typically range, depending on the location of the course, anywhere from $15.99 up to around $2,500. And then you have to factor in things like food and housing while you are taking the course. And again, that'll range anywhere from $600 up to $1,500, depending on where you are taking your course. And we have locations in Asia and Latin America and Europe. So lots of places we're able to take that class in person.
That's right. And also in the US, in Chicago and New York, which are also great options as well.
Of course, I didn't mention Chicago.
That's right. Got to mention the mothership where we're headquartered, right on the north side, down the street from Wrigley Field in Lake Michigan. And we're super excited that ITA is now offering a specialty class specifically in teaching English online. This is a 2-week part-time 30-hour class. And this class is it's available to ITA students who complete their standard TEFL class. So it's not a class that you can just take on your own. It's really designed to build on what you learn in your standard TEFL class with specific training in the field of teaching English online. So you can see some of the specs about it. It's similar to our online class in terms of the platform that it uses, Moodle, instructor, university level instructor with experience in the field. So very qualified instructors, 20 students per class. This class is really it's really a mixture between learning teaching methodologies and practices and, getting access to resources that you can use as an online teacher. So there's a lot of emphasis on the teaching aspect, and then there's a lot of emphasis on the different types of jobs that we've been talking about. You learn about the different platforms that major companies are using, get insights into how they work. You're going to get a lot of practical tips for your job search in terms of, okay, you want to do private tutoring. These are the sorts of websites where you're going to be marketing yourself as an independent tutor, and this is how you're going to do it to get the best results. So it's really a comprehensive class. It's really designed to be practical, both in terms of, again, practice in terms of the teaching aspect, but also, finding and navigating job markets. Tuition for this class is $279, but if you enroll for this class, when you enroll for either your standard online TEFL class with ITA or your standard in-person class, you will save 25 bucks on your tuition. You must sign up for a Teaching English Online specialty class. Your date must begin after you've completed your standard class, so you can't take them at the same time. Again, you're really building on the basic teaching skills that you learn in your standard class. So we're super excited about this class. It's been a huge success in the last month or two since we've kicked it off. We have a bunch of website pages about it, and I think Ashley can probably pop a link into the chat there for you to check it out. Oh, and one other thing, these classes do tend to fill up well in advance. So, check out the dates and fees when you're talking to your advisor and planning out your timeline, and figure out, hey, when's a class that you can get into so that you can make sure to save your spot.
All right, so let's talk about job search guidance and student affairs. All ITA students and graduates enjoy lifetime job search guidance to gain employment, both teaching English abroad and teaching English online. Now, this includes access to a vast array of resources, personal guidance from expert advisors, and access to our worldwide alumni network. John mentioned that we graduate 6,000 students a year, so you can connect with those people. So let's kind of dive into some of those details. So in addition to your TEFL advisor who will help you create your success plan, once you are enrolled, you will work with your job search guidance advisor who will prep you for the job hiring process. So what does this include? They are going to assist you with your resume and your cover letter. Resumes on an international level look a little different. Oftentimes you include your picture and your birth date. They're sort of HR nightmares here in the United States. So they're going to assist you with that to sort of make sure it fits those international standards. They're going to give you advice and information about hiring seasons, visas, education and citizenship requirements. You're also going to get a tremendous amount of resources. For example, we will give you a 500-page job search guidance manual that you are able to navigate and help yourself, research these various online teaching companies, hundreds of ESL job boards, ESL school directories. Our school finder has over 10,000 employers in it. And of course, referrals to some of the top recruiters in Korea, Taiwan, China, as well as some of the top online teaching companies too, like VIP Kid. So, they are there for you to kind of really help you along the way to make sure that you are going to be successful.
Yeah, this is, I can't stress enough how critical this is to, making your experience teaching English online or teaching English abroad a success, is having access to these resources so that you can navigate job markets and really find the best opportunities for yourself. Another key aspect is ITA's Alumni Network. So we have more than 25,000 graduates teaching English abroad in 80 countries, and thousands of them are teaching English online. So once you're enrolled in your TEFL class, you're able to tap into this international community of teachers and travelers. We have 80 specific country Facebook groups. We have a huge online teaching Facebook group exclusively for our graduates where they can share ideas, tips, questions, and so forth. We do all sorts of other stuff as well. I mean, in just a couple weeks, we're going to be hosting ITA's International World Alumni Day, where we sponsor meetups in literally dozens of cities around the world. This last year, we held our first International Teach Abroad Film Festival, which was a huge success. And we publish literally hundreds of articles and videos and Q&As with our alumni, literally every day. So these are just some of the resources that you're able to tap into once you, once you check out our website and then actually become an ITA student. Okay, so what are your next steps? As we've been saying throughout the broadcast, talk to your advisor. They are a huge resource. They can answer all of your questions in depth. They'll give you realistic answers based on your own goals and circumstances, both for teaching English online and teaching English abroad and getting TEFL certified. Check out all the resources on our website. We have hundreds of blog articles, alumni interviews, videos, country profiles. Just for teaching English online, we have a fantastic Teaching English Online corner with links to dozens of resources and articles. We have an employer comparison chart that details, all these different schools and how they work and what they pay and who they're looking to hire and so forth. I can't stress it enough. Check out do as much research as you can. It'll really pay off. Then get into your TEFL class, get TEFL certified. This is key to giving yourself access to the best opportunities, both for teaching English abroad and teaching English online. Go see the world, teach English abroad, teach English online. If you only want to just teach English online from home, hey, you can do that too. If you want to teach English abroad, teaching English online, as we've discussed, is a great way to supplement your income, to gain extra experience, and to make extra money. So we've got a little bit of time here before the top of the hour. Ashley, I know you've been answering questions furiously. I hope you don't have carpal tunnel or any arthritis in your finger from typing so much. Do you have any questions that you think we should be taking here that people are gonna find interesting?
Yeah, one question that's come up a lot, and I didn't hear the answer because I was typing, is the Augmented Reality app that I believe Robert mentioned. A few folks didn't catch the name of that, so if you wouldn't mind repeating the app you had mentioned earlier.
Yeah, I was using an app called ManyCam, MANYCAM. It was free to kind of play around with. You had to pay for it for like a yearly subscription just to get rid of the watermark. But I think it was like $15, so it's well worth it in my opinion. But that is just one of many augmented reality apps out there. And I believe VIP Kid actually developed their own sort of software with augmented reality included. So you're going to start coming across this more and more. But yeah, check out ManyCam, start playing around with it. A good way to kind of test that out and start to get a feel for what that's like.
Thanks, Robert. Another question that just came in from Nicole is, how long does the hiring process usually take? Can you share a little bit about your experience?
Yeah, absolutely. So with VIP Kid, it was probably a 2 to 3 week process. The way that it worked with them is you would have an initial interview. Then you would actually do 2 mock classes, which is where I stepped in. So I got to act like a child for a lesson, and you would have to teach me. And then I would assess your skills as a teacher. So you would do that twice, and then once you passed your second mock class, then you were hired and you started to teach. It's going to vary again depending on the company, but usually you want to think 2 to 4 weeks for sort of that hiring process from when you start to when you actually hop into that classroom to start teaching.
Thanks, Robert. Another question, which is directly about VIP Kid, and I know you have a lot of experience with them. Question is, what is expected of part-time? Is there a certain number of hours that's a minimum?
When I left, I believe there were no minimums. I'm not 100% sure on that because it would change. Like when I started with them, it was 5 hours, but I think they reduced that to, anytime you're free, you can set your schedule. Um, Again, this is a company by company question, but I believe VIP Kid got rid of their requirements. So, even more flexibility than maybe you were thinking there.
Excellent. And we do have a lot of questions related to age, and there are lots of folks in here who are in their 40s, 50s, even 60s and 70s. What about more mature teachers online?
Yeah, absolutely. So with VIP Kid, I saw plenty of teachers in their 40s, 50s, 60s, even 70s that I was working with that we hired. Ageism does exist in this industry, especially if you are working with students based in China. Oftentimes that's reflected more on the students than maybe on the employer, right? So it's not like maybe VIP Kid is not going to hire you, but it might take you a little while to start building up regulars before students start taking your course. But as long as you stick with it, you're not going to really have any huge hurdles you're going to have to overcome with age. Um, More so just being able to make sure that you are able to work in that digital classroom. And I think that maybe if you aren't as comfortable with technology, that's Teaching English Online Specialty course that we offer is a great way to kind of help yourself get used to that digital classroom, so that you can be successful when you start teaching.
Excellent. So another question from Francesca is, how long should I teach online if I want to beef up my resume to go overseas eventually?
That's a great question. I mean, I don't know if there's a set number to that. 6 months, a year, a few months, I think any experience is going to look good on your resume. If you are showing at least 6 months or a year commitment to a company, I'm sure that looks even better. And again, if you are working for multiple online teaching companies, you are able to boost your resume even more. So maybe, like I started off with that example, you start your morning off teaching children in China, and then you start working for another company later in the afternoon where you're working with business professionals around the world. So that will look really good on your resume if you're not only just working with those children, but you have a wide array of students that you have worked with and that really are able to kind of boost that appeal of you as a teacher.
Yeah, I would add also that if you're looking to teach English abroad, and or teaching English online, I'd say that at International TEFL Academy, 85% of our students, 90% of our students have no prior teaching experience except the practicum that they get when they're teaching, taking their TEFL class. So really any experience that you gain, that's one more line on your resume that's going to put you ahead of a lot of other people out there who are going to teach abroad for the first time. So any experience you can get teaching English online or teaching English in person in your community or what have you is going to help you when you're looking for opportunities for teaching English abroad and teaching English online.
Thanks for both of your inputs. I think maybe 40 questions just came in. Thanks for all your questions, guys. We probably won't be able to get to all of them, but there are some questions from folks who are already in a TEFL course or already teaching online and wanting to take our specialty course for teaching online. Can you talk a little bit more about the eligibility for our teaching English online specialty course?
Yeah, I mean, basically, it's exclusively for International TEFL Academy students and graduates. You have to begin your ITA specialty class in terms of the class start date has to be after you've completed your standard online class or in-person class. You can enroll in that class when you enroll for your standard online or in-person TEFL class, and when you do that, you will receive a discount on your tuition. Let's say you've been an ITA graduate and you took your online class a year ago. Hey, you can jump in the next available teaching English online specialty class at any time. Even if let's say you took your online class 5 years ago, same deal. So once you've taken your standard TEFL class, then you can with International TEFL Academy, then you can enroll in any specialty class date that you wish. Robert, anything to add to that?
Yeah, I think you pretty much hit the nail on the head there, John. Just making sure that you are well prepared by taking the standard class first, and then this specialty course will really just build on that foundation and help you be successful. First, figuring out what the market looks like, and then how you can be effective in that virtual space. So yeah, I mean, I think you nailed it.
All right, a lot of questions also from folks out there who might not have a bachelor's degree yet or in the process of obtaining a degree. What kind of options do these folks have for teaching online? I'm going to be posting a few resources as you guys chat as well.
Yeah, there are definitely companies that do not have bachelor's degree requirements. Maybe you won't earn quite as much as you could if you did have a bachelor's degree, but there are definitely still options out there. And again, there are those platforms where you're able to market yourself as a private tutor. And maybe a student out there doesn't quite put as much a preference on a bachelor's degree as they do that TEFL certification. So with that TEFL certification, you are still going to have opportunities to be able to make this happen, whether or not you have a bachelor's degree.
Yeah, and I would add that if you're, you looking to go abroad and teach English in Latin America, Europe, or where have you, and you don't have a degree, teaching English online is a fantastic way to boost your resume and get every bit of experience is really going to make a difference for you. There are a lot of schools and a lot of places, especially in a part of the world like Latin America, where they put less emphasis on whether you have a degree and more emphasis on your other personal qualifications, including TEFL certification and experience. So teaching English online is only going to boost that.
What about short-term opportunities online? Do you have to commit to a year teaching online? So folks are wondering about 6-month opportunities or minimal contract lengths.
Yeah, so VIP Kid did 6-month contracts. I believe most companies operate, at least the ones that are like VIP Kid, they will have something similar, 6-month contracts. You might be able to find organizations that will do 3 months or 1 year. Again, it just depends on whatever one of hundreds of companies out there that you end up working for. But there are shorter term opportunities, and if you are looking for 6 months, you are absolutely able to find that.
All right, should we take 1 or 2 more questions, and then we'll be at the top of the hour?
Yeah, so someone is asking about taking one of the, let's see, taxes. Here's a good question on taxes. How does tax work for teaching online?
Sure. Well, my fiance is a CPA, so talk to a tax specialist. I'm going to make that disclaimer right now. With a lot of these companies, though, you are going to be paid in US dollars, which means that you're going to have to pay federal taxes to the United States, of course. So what I did is I set aside about 30% of my income that I would use to pay taxes for VIP Kid. That is the nuts and bolts of it. Again, you're going to want to talk to a tax professional about this. I don't want to give any too detailed tax advice, but with a lot of these companies, you should expect that you're going to be setting aside some income to make those payments. And with a lot of approaches that you want to take here, it's a good idea to make estimated payments each quarter, just to avoid any potential fees that could come by the IRS.
Yeah, I think one thing that's worth mentioning is that your taxability is going to depend on whether you're teaching, whether you're working and living in the United States or in another country. And there are a lot of, specific rules about that. But if you're living overseas full time, unless you're making, I believe it's something like $90,000 an individual, you're typically not paying U.S. income tax, especially if you're working for a non-U.S. company. But again, as Robert says, we're not tax experts per se, but it's just going to depend on your circumstances and your situation. So, if you're working with a specific school, you may ask them, hey, what do your other teachers do, or how do they handle it? And it's just going to depend on your nationality, where you live, and perhaps where your employer is based as well.
Yeah, and this is where our Alumni Network is an awesome resource for you guys. Definitely check out that Teaching English Online Facebook group we have and see what people have to say about what they do when it comes to paying taxes.
Great. One last question that's popped up a couple times in the last few minutes is, how do you evaluate if an online employer is reputable? Thoughts on that?
Yeah, I mean, reading a lot of reviews always is helpful. Again, that Facebook group that we have where people are doing this right now, that's a tremendous resource to lean on. See what people have to say about working with one employer versus another. Again, just doing the legwork that it takes to research and really understand the company that you're about to work with. And that's probably the best way to figure out, who you want to dedicate your time to and start working through.
Yeah, I would also add that International TEFL Academy, our student affairs department has a lot of experience helping our students find opportunities teaching English online and abroad. We have members of our student affairs team who have taught English online, and we have relationships with a number of these, companies and online schools. So once you're enrolled in your class and you're working with a job search guidance advisor, they're going to be able to provide a lot more details on which companies are reputable. How do you determine what a company is reputable? They'll help you figure out, hey, is this particular specific contract legit or not, or what sort of things do you need to look for in terms of red flags and so forth. So you get a ton of detailed guidance once you're enrolled in your TEFL class about those specifics. All right, well, we're right at the top of the hour here. Really appreciate everybody joining us. Really appreciate, Ashley helping out with all these questions, and Robert sharing all his insights. Really lucky to have him aboard this evening. I think the first lesson of the night is do your research, talk to your advisor. Teaching English online is a great way to make extra money, see the world, get great experience. And, hey, it's really rewarding to help other people realize their life goals. And, people need and want to learn English, and this is a great way to do it. So, Robert, Ashley, anything to add?
Thank you guys for being here. Yeah, it was nice being able to answer some questions. You guys had some awesome questions. And we hope that you are, eventually digital nomads, teaching English online and traveling the world, and you'll be able to submit a film for us for our film festival. We'd love to see that.
That would be great.
Yeah, I'm sorry if I couldn't get to everybody's questions in the chat. Thank you so much for sending so many. Definitely reach out to your admissions advisor tomorrow to go into greater detail than I could give you tonight. I'm sure they'll be happy to chat through your very specific questions.
All right. Thanks, everybody. We're going to sign off. Get in touch with your advisor, and we'll be in touch.